You know what I mean? It's always the kids who clock me.
Here's the thing is,
Kids
like,
pick up vibes, like they can sense it.
but so I'm of an older generation, and like this issue has just become like a discussion point. But the fact is like, if you were passing, like the whole point of like people that were transgender was a silent like assimilation into whatever gender they were trying to pass as. And you literally don't know if somebody is a man or a woman. Like, you literally don't, going into the bathroom. Like, if they look like a woman, they dress like a woman, they act like a woman. There has never been this like clocking issue that is now prevalent in today's society. And I understand why
Pasha, sorry, 1 second. Beautiful mama, please don't tap in the panel.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
that's okay. It gives us a shadow banana.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. I think that you just kind of like, you just quietly use the restroom. Like, there was no discussion, there was nothing at all. Like, the stalls are stalls. They used the bathroom, they left, and honestly, I wouldn't have known one way or another if the person was a transgender individual, because they were
just because you don't know doesn't mean you didn't violate your space or your boundaries.
I guess I just disagree. Like, I personally disagree. I feel like it would be
I can hear you watching my live because I'm watching your live. Listen,
so if you don't know, you're not bothered.
The thing is, you have to. Yeah, like, you have to be careful. Like, there's a lot of. Oh, go ahead, Chloe. Go ahead.
Like, so you're saying as long as you don't know, it's okay.
Well, I think it would be more traumatic for my son to walk in and see you in the male's bathroom.
I know, but I just want to get like your logic. So if you can't tell or you don't know, it's okay.
That's literally my logic. Like, I'm not here to be a hall monitor.
Oh, it's okay if someone records it as long as you don't know about it.
No, I think
that's the same logic.
No, I don't think it is. Like, I think
it is your boundaries and your privacy and your fucking integrity, and it's just all being violated.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I don't feel like I'm being violated. I don't feel like somebody that is
okay. I get
passing,
that. That's cool.
I don't feel that
You're a
way.
nice person, but do you think you're like in the position to consent for all the women who have a problem?
I don't think that it's my place to police your private area and verify if you are a female or male.
It's not my private area though, is it? It's not my bathroom.
But I'm just saying, like, I would be more concerned, and I'm just saying, like, if I don't really care if it's not a popular opinion, I would be more concerned about my son coming out and having questions why someone that looks like you is using his restroom than you passing under the radar with my girls in the restroom.
I think,
no, but there's also trans women who are attracted to females.
There's also lesbians that are attracted to females.
They're females, but they're females, and a female can defend herself against another female.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree, but
stick you on anyway.
No, it's pretty simple. No males in female spaces. So simple.
I think we get stuck on the toilet
use
thing
non-gender bathroom then, because I'm not also comfortable with you using my son's restroom. So like,
I don't want to use the men's either for my comfortability.
If that's the case,
and the fact there's little boys in there, I use a third space.
Yeah, I think there should be third spaces.
I use a third space. They're everywhere all over the UK. I don't know why people keep saying there isn't. Like, they're everywhere.
There is, yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Like, if you'd be none the wiser, but you would hope, them being who they are and knowing who they are, that they would use that third space and not put themselves in that position.
Like, the majority of our community, like the T community, the majority of them are AGP, female attracted. Like, they are a threat, a big threat to use. And like, so like actual transsexual, we're willing to step back and use the third space. If we stay out, the bad ones will stand out. But you just need to like fight for yourselves a bit more. You can't be nice to us That's why you're in this problem. You're in this mess because you was
I just
too
want to
nice.
clarify real quick. I didn't say anything about lesbians not using the bathroom. I don't know where that came from. That's
No, I think someone else said it.
Well, so I'm being attacked by Stephanie. She's saying that I was not even.
I don't think she did.
You're saying you're coming across offended about something that had like literally doesn't need to be offense. There's like no offense there.
Good people. Your man's a little fucking rat bastard because he.
Oh, you PT.
Yeah, because, mate, TikTok language.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all I'm saying, Apache, is like, you can still be nice to us, like, respect us or whatever, but don't let us disrespect you. Know what I mean? Like, you come first, you were born like that. What we've done was a choice. We struggled with dysphoria, and we made a choice to transition. You don't have to bend your fucking knee to what we want.
So this is what I usually say to people who usually allow, or say it doesn't really bother them when it comes to trans women using women's spaces, right? Now, if we're going to allow trans women in, let's say, women's restrooms, where do we draw the line as to what spaces they can and can't use? For example, are we saying we should allow trans women in women's shelters as well, or should we allow trans women in women's sports? Should we allow trans women in, let's say, women's changing rooms or women's shower rooms, women's only spaces such as
women's prisons?
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is about Chloe, about women's prisons, is that if you look at the case of Demi Minor, an individual who I bring up quite a lot regarding these conversations, Demi Minor was a trans woman who was arrested, right? The crimes, I don't believe anything significant. However, they went to a woman's prison with their, peach kiddo still attached, right? Yeah. And because of that, the result was that 2 other female inmates ended up being impregnated, even though this individual was a trans woman. Now, I don't believe that individual should have been put in that prison because, like I said, that trans woman is not a woman. They are biologically a man. They fit under the definition of what a man is, which is an adult human male. So, like I said, if we do allow trans women in, let's say, women's restrooms, where do we draw the line as to what spaces they can and can't use?
Okay. It's just like there's no standard to being trans anymore. Like people can just say, "Oh, I'm trans," and that's it. Like, how has he gone in there?
So,
and how is his dick working? He's clearly not on HRT or not, and he's not transitioning. That's a self idea.
I hear you, Pill. I think the thing is that I also have a son, and from a mom having a son, thinking of a transgender woman using the bathroom with my son also bothers me. That very much bothers me.
Okay, so usually it comes onto the topic of, what space I believe a trans woman or a trans individual should use, right? The argument I make is that I believe they should be using accessible or disabled toilets. Now, I know a lot of people think, okay, we should do that for disabled. I recognize them to have a disability known as gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is recognized in the DSM-5 as a mental disorder, therefore a disability. And because it's recognized as a disability in that sense, I would argue that gives them, reasoning for them to use the disabled toilets. It can give a sense of confusion to people. I do acknowledge that, let's say, if a trans man were to use the woman's restroom, given that they're on testosterone, which is a very strong hormone which can help them produce facial hair, beard, make them very masculine, it could potentially raise some eyebrows and some red flags, So
wait, I have a question for you because maybe it's different in the UK than in the US. Like, if there's a disabled bathroom, cannot anybody use it? Like, do you have to justify like the use of a disability bathroom? Like, I think
only in certain places. In most places, it's just open, or you can just ask for the key.
So in my place of work, right, we have a disabled bathroom. Now, a lot of people try and say, can I use a disabled bathroom? A lot of people try and use it all the time, and the reason as to why is because they prefer it, because it's on its own. It's typically a lot more cleaner, and that's why people would rather use it. Now, the toilet's there for a reason. Now, say for example, at my workplace, an individual, in a wheelchair comes around, and there's a person who's using it with no problems at hand. I believe that person unjustly used that toilet.
But you can't really. How can you justify that when not all disabilities are visible? Like, I have autistic sons, and I have two children with ADHD and another with autism. Now, I always make sure that I use the disabled toilet, but looking at them, you wouldn't think that they were disabled. So how can you justify saying that when some disabilities aren't visible?
So when it comes to, the topics of disabilities which can't be seen, right? Usually I say, it's a matter of trust when it comes to, people using these spaces. It's a matter of, not taking the piss just because you want to be, in a different bathroom because it might be easier for you to go to. It might be more free, more available to you, right? So I think it's a matter of trust when it comes to individuals using these bathrooms in the first place altogether.
I'd like to say as well that in the UK you can actually claim PIP for if you have a diagnosis of gender dysphoria.
Oh? You can now claim PIP if you have gender dysphoria?
Yeah.
So, well, I've actually not known that, and I believe that's absolutely vile in my opinion.
But they say it's not a mental health condition or anything else, but under PIP, under the government, you can claim personal independence payment or a disability payment if you have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria under the mental condition part of the PIP payments.
I don't mind them claiming disability payments, right? But my issue is, how can the NHS say it's not a mental disorder or a mental condition, and it causes no issues and there's no issues with them, yet they still have the availability to claim these things? I'm not saying it's vile that they have the access to this money. I'm saying it's vile that they're
what
being...
do you mean it causes no issues, bro? How does gender dysphoria not cause issues? Are you mad?
Oh God, no! I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I was just throwing it out there. They can't, they can physically do it.
No. I'm not saying it doesn't cause nothing. What I'm saying is, how can the NHS say this, but at the same time award these people money for disability? Does that make sense? I'm not saying, for example, you can agree.
Yeah, but a disability, to them, is classed as something that hinders your life, isn't it?
Gender dysphoria does hinder someone's life, I believe.
You can claim
it does, yeah.
You can claim PIP because it comes under the mental. Sorry, Crow. It comes under the mental health condition part of PIP.
Okay, so
Don't say that. Everyone will be getting that diagnosis.
Oh no.
I've been doing a bit of research on this.
Chloe.
Right, and Chloe, it kind of backs up all the points that you make of if you're trans, you're not a woman, you're still a man. So, see chromosomes. See when you're born, you're either XY or XX. That's the two types, isn't it? Yeah.
Debatable. You can get variations.
Oh yeah, obviously you can have chromosomal mutation, X, Y, and Z.
GSDs and that, yeah. But I get what you mean, yeah.
But see when you transition, no matter what happens, see when you pass on this life, and they look at your brain and they look at your genetic makeup and your DNA, still gonna translate back to being the male chromosomal makeup.
Yeah, every bit of my DNA, every skin cell, everything of me is male.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was just see when you started saying a lot of stuff earlier, I was right, I'm going to do my own research and I'm going to see if this here point actually makes any sort of sense to people who try and say that trans women are women. They're not. They're still men.
Yeah, modified man, I say. Modified man.
Yeah.
I just can't bring myself to say I'm a man. It fucks with me just for it. Modified man, I'm alright with. I know objectively, yeah, I'm a man, but I just can't say that. It's not good for my brain, bro.
Chloe, how do you feel about the whole cis woman thing?
Oh, girl. I think it's do you know what? I hate when a woman says, oh, I'm a cis woman. Girl, I could fucking get physical with them. They need waking up. It's just it's degrading. It's reducing you to a costume. Because then it's
so if anyone's not heard of that in here, they've recently decided that a lot of trans women, not all, have decided that women should biological women should now be known as cis women, which means biological woman, and that's what they should label themselves as, so that trans women can then call themselves women.
I've heard it.
I don't agree to change my label if someone else decided to make a change for their life.
Yeah, it's like to give you cis so that you become a subcategory of woman.
But
trans women are a subcategory of women, so they're just trying to get trans women under the woman category.
How do they justify that when, if you've got a trans woman, they were born male, but they don't feel right in their body. Females,
so to make themselves
females are women, so shouldn't it be the other way round?
Well, just be happy with calling yourself a trans woman. Like, why are you so offended by that?
I don't even say that. I don't even say I'm a trans woman. I think that's still disrespectful to put woman on it. Like, I just say I'm transsexual. Like, people can see what I am.
Same. Yeah. Okay.
Can I just jump in on the trans women? So I work in a school, and we've regularly had a trans woman teacher come in. Now you can see that she like dresses as a woman, you know, she's obviously on hormones and stuff like that, but you have the children going, well, they don't talk like, she talks like a man, you know, you can clearly see that she's got male features. But one thing that I had admiration for her is she actually sat down and explained to the children that, you know, she is different to other females.
No, I think that's disgusting. I don't think they should have told because they shouldn't have told the kids anything about it. They shouldn't even be in the school.
But if the children are asking questions,
then you just say, I'm not going to speak about that. That's not on the curriculum. I'm not going to speak about that. That's not my place. Ask your parents.
At my school, we had a sub teacher who was trans, and the kids, I think they notice, like you said, Chloe, kids stare, they look, they notice more. The kids noticed, but they didn't say anything. It was the parents that had the issue.
Yeah, it's not for somebody to talk to your children about what trans gender and transsexual.
I kind of put that across wrong. She didn't say that she was going through the change. She just explained that she's different. She didn't mention anything about, you know, going from a man to a woman. I kind of put that in the wrong context, so I do apologise.
You just wanted to address the elephant in the room, I guess.
She just shouldn't have mentioned nothing, because it's just going to make them wonder more, and they're going to ask more questions and look into it.
Can I ask, is that like a primary or a senior school?
She should have been sacked. Should have been sacked.
Yeah, primary.
Disgusting.
Nah, right,
especially if they didn't pass, they shouldn't be around kids.
Yeah, nah, fuck that. Like,
fucking, oh, bro, I'd go in and, oh my god.
Like, it doesn't make, like, you had a good way of, like, wording it.
Yeah, we only have that sub-teacher one.
And what was it, like, they shouldn't go into schools because, like, essentially, like, you don't want somebody like that there influencing, like, people who are like really strict religiously as well, because could you imagine?
Yeah, that's what I said this morning, where it said, like, there's like 30 kids in a classroom and we're going to sit them all down, we're going to confuse the fuck out of 28, 29 of them, we're going to, like, most of them are religious and Muslim and that, so we're going to knock them sick, yeah, just to please this one freak. That doesn't make sense. That kid has got TikTok, it's got Google. If it feels the same way, it can Google it and find it seconds away. It can watch TV. They're in every fucking program. Everything you put on, there's one in it. Like, people need to stop being so ignorant and naive and thinking that kids need to know because they don't see it anyway. None of us, like me and Alex, like no actual grown trans person.
I wanted to ask the both of you, who actually invented...
Depths, why am I not allowed to be in that guy's live? Yeah, he's a muppet, exactly. That was
he won't let you
on that fake account.
I also don't agree with what It's Me has said. Being a girl is easier than being a guy. It's equally as hard for both.
It's hard for different reasons.
Like men, like statistically speaking, men contribute to a lot of violence, but also they contribute to a lot of good stuff in the world as well. Same way
men and women just aren't the same.
We'd all be fucked without men. We'd be fucked without men.
Exactly.
We have different.
The whole world we live in was built by men.
Unfortunately, if we turn around and we say that, we're either misogynistic though, which is a fucking crazy fucking take. A real crazy fucking take.
I just don't see why you would want, people. Some people are it'd be better if there's no men, or it'd be better if there's no women. We need each other. That's the way I look at it. The world works because it has both men and women in it.
Essentially, you give me 3 fucking men, I can take over any country in the world. That's just part and parcel. 3 fucking absolute fucking units on myself. Take over any country in the world.
If this shit carries on now for like a few more years or whatever, all you women should turn around and identify as men and then take over. You'll have all your rights, and then all the women will have the women in quotations, men.
Yeah, do you know what I think as well, right? So trans women try to identify as women because somehow they feel like they want to be like oppressed, and no offense, if you were a lad before, you did not get to inherit any of the oppression that women have fucking faced over the fucking years. That's all I'm saying on that.
Oh yeah, that's delusional. Female body, that's womanhood. And a man will never be in a female body. So a trans person cannot experience that.
So where do you stand with a woman transitioning into a man?
Still a woman.
Marrying a woman and then having children. So where do you stand on that?
So
who's having the child?
The woman.
Not the trans one?
No, not the trans one.
And how are they going through it? Are they getting a surrogacy, or what way are they doing it?
No, IVF. But my friend has transitioned from female to male.
What's the problem?
No, I'm just asking.
Sorry, if it's IVF and it's the married, that's their business, isn't it?
Yeah.
As long as they're not human trafficking with surrogates and that, and the trans man's not getting pregnant, it's not my business.
I'm a trans girl and I can't understand why a trans man would want to be pregnant. It's like
it's the weirdest thing ever.
I don't want any women to take this personally now, because this isn't directed at you, this is my dysphoria, but the idea of being pregnant makes me sick. I would want to unalive.
It's like the most female thing you could do, isn't it?
Oh, it's like the maximum confusion, isn't it? Like what I don't get.
Yeah, like when I speak to trans women and they're like, oh yeah, I top. Like they actually use the dick and that, and like, wow, I can't relate to you, mate. We are not the same.
No.
Nah, fuck that.
Like, how is it even working? The man using it? What the fuck?
No.
At the end of the day, it's fucking night.
At the end of the day,
my gran
they're
used to
just
say
men.
that. She's Irish.
They're just modified men.
We're all just
sexy men.
We're all men.
Except me.
We need someone in here who's going to disagree.
Nah, because if somebody comes up here and disagrees, they're going to try and indoctrinate every single one of us, and then we're going to get called transphobes. And then once we turn around and give them a valid argument, they're going to turn around and be like, oh, but this is indicative to my mental health, and they're going to cry. Literally. That's all that's going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
No offense, they can sit there and they can argue their point, but as soon as you give them any sort of counter argument, their entire argument falls to shit in 0.2 seconds.
A lot of them are just selfish. They only care about themselves.
Oh,
and,
bro,
like,
you just
it's how they feel and that.
It's not even a debate anymore. You just ask them to define woman without using the term someone who identifies as a woman. Like, just tell them they can't use woman because it's circular, and tell them they can't refer to smacks. They can't do it, bro. They malfunction and have a breakdown. It's wild, but they can't. Or someone who identifies as a woman, but they can't tell you what a woman is. Or they can't give you like criteria to separate them. What?
Or they try and describe women as fish.
You don't identify as something. You either are or you aren't. That
identifying shit, that's what gets me the most, to be honest.
Pisses me off as well.
Like,
so do you identify as
something what you're physically not? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's imaginary. That's like a kid pretending to be Spider-Man or something.
We need to stop using the identifying thing. It's stupid.
Not gonna lie, right? There are some absolute mad takes, so right. But I want to throw out there just to like stir the pot a little bit.
Go on.
Right, so convince me that Alex is not still a woman, even though they've transitioned to being a man.
You can't.
Oh, why is that?
Because she's female. She's an adult human female. And that's what she'll always be till the day she unalives.
Exactly.
Well, it doesn't bother me that people say that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I prefer if they would call me like transsexual or Alex rather than a female. It doesn't really bother me. Like, I'm not like, oh, but you know, I'm a bit like Chloe. Like, I'd rather be called like transsexual. I don't really like saying that. Saying I'm a woman as such.
If you didn't have an issue with being called a woman, then you wouldn't be where you were.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd rather say just say, oh, I'm transsexual. And that's fine.
Mm.
So I sort of like, I don't have a man's experience. I have transsexual experience. I'll never have a man's experience. That's fine. Like, I don't know what happened to people just identifying as transsexual. Like, that's just vanished. Now people are saying that there's something they're not.
You don't even want that man's experience. It's just pressure. Stress.
Yeah.
Big up, Cherry.
I was like raised in a Roman Catholic family too, so there's not much I haven't heard. I think I've got quite a thick skin compared to a lot of people.
What was your experience with sharing it with your family?
My dad is still having trouble. He's not like, he doesn't like disown me or anything. But he's still like not very happy about it. I think a lot of it is to do with my name rather than. He was most affected by me changing my name than he was by...
Do you know what? And I think that for a parent, I think I would probably feel a little bit like that. Like, if my children wanted to do that and that's the life they wanted to live, then fine. But I actually think that as a parent, that would probably be quite difficult, them, like, the change of name, because it's like, you've taken away what I've given you.
Yeah, it's hard for them to deal with, like, a transition as well, because, like, they've had the kids being that kid so long and being that smacks, hasn't it? And, like, they had expectations for that kid. Like, they probably pictured Alex getting married in a dress and all that, know what I mean?
Well, I think it was less with me, like, because, like, I've never worn dress, like, apart from when I was a baby and I couldn't dress myself. I've always been, like, a tomboy, like, very, very, very masculine. So I think it was less of a shock than, like, you know, sometimes you have people that go from being, like, girly to masculine overnight, almost. And I like identified really with being like a masculine lesbian for well, basically I still am for a long time, and they were okay. So I think that, you know, it wasn't so much that, it was more like when I changed my name and my dad had chosen my name and it was like a really personal name to him. He found that really, really horrible, and he cried and stuff. And I can understand that. Like,
okay, let me give you a scenario. So at the school that I used to work at, primary school, we have a little boy whose mum and dad had separated. Dad had decided after having 2 children that actually he was in the wrong body and he should be a woman. With that being said, he went full in straight away, went from dressing like a man to he wasn't a very convincing trans. Okay, he was wearing a wig. He's
an AGP.
But he still had stubble. Like, I felt for that child because I thought,
it's selfish, isn't it? Like, you've made that commitment to be a dad. Like, just wait till your kids of age.
Yeah. Do you think he should have stayed as male?
I think he should have stayed as a man. If he was a man anyway, and he was quite happily penetrating people, making kids, like, for however long, like, commit to it, bro. You're there, you're using it, you're clearly happy. You're comfortable with a woman. Like, it's easier for you to just stay a man for your wife and your kids, but you've selfishly give into this fetish you've been hiding. Like,
so I actually have a question. Like, I'm not saying I believe this. Like, I literally sit up and think about stuff that.
The Observer, providing you with the latest TikTok drama from across the UK.